4 hours ago. Something shifted in the unseen. You didn't hear it, you didn't see it, but it happened with precision, with divine timing, with a force that no human plan could stop. While you were going about your day, maybe feeling tired, maybe confused, maybe even questioning why certain things in your life weren't making sense, God was already moving. There was a conversation that didn't go as planned, a secret that slipped out, a mask that cracked at the worst possible moment for the one who was plotting against you. What they thought would remain hidden was suddenly exposed, not by accident, but by divine intervention. And the truth is, this didn't start 4 hours ago. The exposure happened 4 hours ago, but the protection has been surrounding you for a long time. You need to understand something clearly. Not everyone who smiles at you is for you. Not everyone who claps for you is celebrating you. There are people who watch you closely, not because they admire you, but because they are trying to figure out how to stop you. They study your moves, your habits, your weaknesses. They wait for the right moment, the perfect opportunity, to act against you quietly, strategically, without being noticed. And for a while, it may have seemed like they were winning. Things felt off. Plans didn't work. Energy felt heavy. You couldn't quite explain why certain doors were closing or why certain people suddenly changed. But what you didn't realize is that God was allowing certain things to happen, not to harm you, but to reveal them. Because exposure is not instant. It is built. It is prepared. God watches everything. Every whisper behind your back. Every hidden intention. Every quiet betrayal. Nothing escapes his sight. And when the time is right, he doesn't just reveal the truth. He makes it undeniable. That's what happened 4 hours ago. The person who thought they were invisible became visible. The one who thought they were smart made a mistake. The one who believed they had control lost it in a moment they didn't expect. Maybe they said something they weren't supposed to say. Maybe someone overheard a conversation. Maybe a message was seen. Maybe their behavior slipped just enough for others to notice. However it happened, it wasn't random. It was orchestrated. Because when God decides to expose someone, he doesn't do it halfway. He brings light into darkness so clearly that even the people who doubted you start to see the truth. And this is why you felt that shift. That sudden calm. That strange sense that something had changed even though you couldn't explain it. That was not your imagination. That was confirmation. Something behind the scenes was being handled. Something you didn't have to fight anymore was being taken care of for you. But here's the deeper part most people don't understand. Exposure is not just about them. It's also about you. It's about positioning you for what's next. Because as long as hidden enemies are close to you, your next level is blocked. Your growth is delayed. Your blessings are restricted. Not because God is holding them back, but because he is protecting you from receiving something in the wrong environment. Imagine receiving your biggest opportunity while surrounded by people who secretly want you to fail. Imagine stepping into your purpose while someone is quietly working to sabotage you. That would destroy everything. So instead, God removes, reveals, and separates before He elevates. And that's exactly what is happening now. The exposure you didn't even ask for is clearing your path. You might be wondering why it had to be so subtle. Why you weren't directly told. Why it didn't happen earlier. But timing is everything. If you had known too soon, you might have reacted emotionally. You might have confronted them, argued, created conflict that would only make things worse. You might have exposed yourself in the process. But God didn't want you to fight this battle. He wanted to handle it in a way that protects your peace and preserves your future. That's why it happened quietly. That's why it unfolded without you even needing to step in. Because real protection doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like confusion. Sometimes it looks like delay. But behind that silence, behind that confusion, behind that delay, God is working with precision. Think about it. The person who was plotting against you believed they had time. They believed they could continue without being caught. They thought they were ahead of the situation. But they underestimated one thing. They underestimated divine timing. Because when God decides it's time, everything changes instantly. No warning. No second chance. Just exposure. And now, even if you don't see the full picture yet, things are already shifting. People are starting to notice. Energy is changing. Situations that felt stuck are beginning to move. This is not coincidence. This is the result of what happened 4 hours ago. But you have to do your part now. Don't go looking for answers aggressively. Don't try to force clarity. Don't chase the truth. Let it come to you naturally. Because when God reveals something, He also reveals it in a way that keeps you aligned, calm, and in control. If you start reacting out of emotion, you step out of that alignment. Stay grounded. Stay observant. Stay quiet if needed. Because sometimes the strongest position is not reacting at all. The truth will continue to unfold. More will be revealed. Not all at once, but piece by piece, exactly how you need to see it. And when you finally see everything clearly, you'll realize something powerful. You were never in danger the way you thought you were. You were being protected the entire time. And that's the message you need to hold on to. You are not alone in this. You are not fighting unseen battles by yourself. Every hidden attack has already been seen. Every plan made against you has already been accounted for. And every person who tries to work against you will eventually be exposed. Because what is hidden in darkness cannot stay hidden forever. And 4 hours ago, that truth began to surface. And now that the exposure has begun, something even deeper is unfolding. Because what started 4 hours ago was only the first crack in the illusion. What you're about to witness next is the unraveling. Not all at once, not in a dramatic explosion, but in a steady, undeniable breakdown of everything that was built against you in secret. The person who was plotting didn't just make one move. They built layers. Layers of deception, layers of manipulation, layers of false loyalty. And now, one by one, those layers are starting to collapse under the weight of truth. You may start to notice small things first. Subtle changes in how people act around you. A shift in tone. A hesitation where there was once confidence. That person who seemed so comfortable before now feels uneasy. That's not your imagination. That's the pressure of exposure. Because once truth enters a situation, it creates tension for anyone who was hiding something. They can feel it. They know something has shifted. Even if they don't know exactly what has been revealed, they can sense that their time of hiding is coming to an end. And here's where it gets even more powerful. You didn't have to say a word. You didn't have to defend yourself. You didn't have to prove anything. While they were busy planning, God was positioning. While they were creating strategies, God was creating outcomes. And now those outcomes are starting to manifest in ways that no one can deny. What's happening right now is a silent separation. Not forced, not chaotic, but natural and unavoidable. People who are not aligned with your purpose will begin to distance themselves. Conversations will fade. Connections will weaken. Opportunities that once involved them will suddenly no longer include them. And it won't feel forced. It will feel like it's just happening. That's because it is. This is divine alignment correcting what was never meant to stay connected. But be careful in this phase. Because when exposure begins, the one who was plotting may try to regain control. They may act differently. They may try to come closer, to appear supportive, to fix what they feel slipping away. Or they may do the opposite. Become distant, defensive, even aggressive. Both reactions come from the same place. Fear. Fear of being fully seen. Fear of losing control. Fear of consequences. Do not be fooled by sudden kindness. Do not be shaken by sudden hostility. Stay centered. Because your strength right now is not in reacting. It's in observing. Let their actions reveal everything you need to know. Let their behavior confirm what God has already started to show you. You also need to understand this. Not everyone around you knew what was happening. Some people were simply unaware. They may have been influenced, misled, or kept in the dark. As the truth unfolds, you'll begin to see who is genuine and who is just positioned close to you without real loyalty. This is where clarity becomes your greatest weapon. Not anger. Not revenge. Clarity. Because once you see clearly, you move differently. You trust differently. You allow differently. And most importantly, you protect your energy at a completely different level. There's also something else happening behind the scenes that you cannot ignore. While one person is being exposed, God is also preparing the right people to step into your life. This is not just about removal. It's about replacement. It's about making space for connections that are real, supportive, and aligned with where you're going next. Because where you're going, you cannot take hidden enemies with you. And that's why this moment is so important. It's not just about what was revealed 4 hours ago. It's about what that revelation is creating now. A shift. A realignment. A clearing of everything that was blocking your next level. You may feel a mix of emotions as this unfolds. Relief. Confusion. Even disbelief. You may look back at past situations and start connecting the dots. Moments that didn't make sense before will suddenly become clear. You'll realize that certain delays, certain failures, certain unexpected turns were not setbacks. They were protection. They were redirections. They were God keeping you away from outcomes that would have been damaged by the presence of the wrong person. And when that realization fully hits you, something inside you will change. You'll stop questioning why things didn't work out. You'll stop wondering why certain people left or acted differently. Because now you'll see it. It was all part of a bigger plan to protect you and position you correctly. But don't rush this understanding. Let it come naturally. Let the truth unfold at its own pace. Because the more patient you are, the clearer everything becomes. And remember this. Exposure is not the end. It's the beginning. The beginning of clarity. The beginning of freedom. The beginning of moving forward without hidden resistance working against you. The one who was plotting thought they were ahead of you. They thought they had control over something that was never theirs to control. And now, without you even lifting a finger, everything they built in secret is starting to fall apart. That's not luck. That's alignment. That's protection. And that's just the beginning of what's coming next. And as everything continues to unfold, you're stepping into a phase that most people never fully understand. The phase where truth doesn't just reveal others, it transforms you. Because what you're experiencing right now is not just about someone being exposed. It's about you awakening to a level of awareness you didn't have before. The kind of awareness that changes how you see people, how you read situations, how you trust energy without needing constant proof. Up until now, there were moments you doubted yourself. Moments you felt something was off but couldn't explain it. You tried to give the benefit of the doubt. You tried to stay positive. You tried to ignore the small signs because you didn't want to believe that someone close to you could be working against you in silence. But now, those moments are coming back into your mind with clarity. Not to hurt you, but to show you how intuitive you actually are. Because the truth is, you felt it before it was revealed. You sensed the inconsistency. You noticed the subtle shifts. You picked up on things that didn't align, even if you couldn't logically explain them at the time. And instead of trusting that feeling fully, you questioned it. You gave chances. You stayed open. And that's not a weakness. That's who you are. But now, after what was exposed 4 hours ago, something inside you is recalibrating. You're learning the difference between giving people grace and ignoring clear signs. And this is where your power begins to rise. Because once you combine intuition with clarity, you become untouchable in a way that people can't manipulate anymore. You don't need to overanalyze. You don't need to chase explanations. You don't need to confront every situation. You simply observe, understand, and move accordingly. That's a different level of strength. A quiet strength. A controlled strength. Meanwhile, the person who is plotting is entering a completely different phase. The phase of consequence. And consequences don't always look like immediate punishment. Sometimes they look like exposure spreading. Sometimes they look like losing trust. Sometimes they look like isolation, where people begin to distance themselves without needing an explanation. Because once someone's true nature starts to surface, it becomes difficult for them to maintain the same image they once had. And the more they try to fix it, the more it unravels. They may try to explain themselves. They may try to control the narrative. They may even try to make you look like the problem to protect themselves. But erase what they can't control. Truth has a way of standing on its own. It doesn't need constant defense. It doesn't need loud arguments. It simply reveals itself through patterns, through actions, through consistency over time. And that's why you don't need to fight this. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. The same way things were revealed without your involvement. They will continue to unfold without your interference. Your role is not to chase justice. Your role is to stay aligned, stay focused, and stay protected. Because there's something bigger happening here that goes beyond just this situation. You're being prepared. Prepared for a level where not everyone can go. Prepared for opportunities that require a different mindset, a different circle, a different level of awareness. And part of that preparation involves removing anything that could disrupt that future. Even if it's uncomfortable. Even if it's unexpected. Think about it. If this person had remained hidden, if their intentions were never exposed, they would have continued to stay close to you. They would have had access to your plans, your energy, your direction. And at the wrong moment, they could have caused damage that would be much harder to recover from. But instead, everything is being revealed now. Before your next level fully opens. That's not coincidence. That's protection at the highest level. And the more you accept that, the easier this process becomes. Because instead of feeling betrayed, you start feeling guided. Instead of feeling confused, you start feeling aware. Instead of feeling blocked, you start seeing how things are actually opening for you. But there's one more thing you need to be mindful of in this phase. Your response. Not your reaction. Your response. Because how you move from this point forward will define what comes next. If you choose anger, you stay connected to the situation longer than necessary. If you choose revenge, you lower yourself into a space that drains your energy. But if you choose awareness, distance, and control, you rise above it completely. And rising above doesn't mean ignoring what happened. It means understanding it without letting it control you. It means learning from it without becoming hardened. It means moving forward without carrying unnecessary weight. Because the truth is, this situation was never meant to break you. It was meant to reveal something to you. Something about others, yes. But more importantly, something about yourself. Your strength. Your awareness. Your ability to move through hidden opposition without even knowing it was there. And now that you do know, imagine how powerful you become moving forward. Because this is not the end of the story. This is the moment where everything becomes clear. This is the moment where you stop second-guessing yourself. This is the moment where you step into a different level of control over your life, your energy, and your direction. And while the one who was plotting is dealing with the consequences of being exposed, you are stepping into alignment with something greater. Something cleaner. Something stronger. Something that was waiting for the right moment. Just like this one. And that moment is now.